Did you know that Gen Z is projected to make up over 30% of the global workforce by 2030? That's a huge shift that could change the game for leaders across Africa. Africa's leaders are getting increasingly anxious about the rise of Gen Z, and for good reason. This generation, born between the mid-1990s and the early 2010s, is growing up in a world that's vastly different from the one their leaders knew. They're digitally native, socially conscious, and hungry for change. The question on everyone's mind is, what's at stake if Africa's leaders fail to engage with this emerging force? The truth is, Gen Z faces unique challenges in Africa. Unemployment is a major concern, with many young people struggling to find meaningful work. They're also fed up with the status quo, demanding more transparency, accountability, and inclusivity in governance. This generational clash is about more than just age, it's about values, worldviews, and the future of the continent. As Gen Z continues to grow in numbers and influence, Africa's leaders are starting to feel the heat. They're worried that this generation's discontent could boil over into social unrest, protests, and even revolution. The stakes are high, and it's clear that something's got to give. Gen Z in Africa is facing some tough realities. Unemployment is rampant, and many young people are struggling to make ends meet. They're also dealing with a lack of resources, limited access to education and healthcare, and societal expectations that can be suffocating. It's a challenging environment, but Gen Z is refusing to back down. Research has shown that Gen Z is highly aspirational, with many young people eager to make a positive impact on their communities. They're frustrated with the lack of opportunities, though, and are demanding more from their leaders. Statistics reveal that a significant proportion of Gen Z in Africa are disillusioned with politics as usual, and are looking for radical change. What do Gen Z's aspirations and frustrations look like in real life? For one, they're craving meaningful work that aligns with their values. They're also demanding more transparency and accountability from their leaders, and are willing to speak out when they feel like their voices aren't being heard. This generation is not afraid to challenge the powers that be. Interviews with Gen Zers across Africa reveal a common theme, a desire for agency and autonomy. They want to be heard, seen, and valued. They're not just looking for handouts, they're looking for opportunities to make a difference. This is a generation that's been shaped by social media, and they're using these platforms to mobilize and organize. From #FeesMustFall to #EndSARS, Gen Z in Africa is using social media to amplify their voices and push for change. They're also taking to the streets, protesting against injustice and demanding action from their leaders. This is a generation that's not afraid to take risks and challenge the status quo. But what are the obstacles that Gen Z faces in Africa? For one, there's government resistance. Many leaders are wary of this generation's activism, and are pushing back against their demands. There's also a lack of resources, with limited funding and support available for young people who want to make a difference. Societal expectations can be another major hurdle. Many young people are expected to conform to traditional norms and values, rather than forging their own paths. This can stifle creativity, innovation, and progress. Gen Z is pushing back against these expectations, though, and is determined to create its own future. One powerful moment that encapsulates Gen Z's fight for change is the story of a young activist who's taking on the system. She's using social media to mobilize her peers, and is refusing to back down in the face of adversity. Her story is just one example of the many young people who are fighting for a better future in Africa. The consequences of inaction are clear. If Africa's leaders fail to engage with Gen Z, they risk missing out on a huge opportunity for growth, innovation, and progress. This generation has the potential to drive positive change, but only if they're given the chance. So what can Africa's leaders do to engage with Gen Z? For one, they need to listen to their concerns and aspirations. They need to create opportunities for young people to participate in governance, and to make a meaningful contribution to their communities. This will require a fundamental shift in how leaders approach youth empowerment. The ball is in the court of Africa's leaders. Will they take the concerns of Gen Z seriously, or will they continue to ignore their demands? The future of the continent hangs in the balance. If you're watching this video, chances are you're interested in the intersection of youth and leadership in Africa. We want to hear from you. What do you think about the generational divide in Africa? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more content on youth and leadership in Africa. We're exploring the most pressing issues facing this continent, and we're committed to amplifying the voices of young people who are driving change. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video. Let's keep the conversation going. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date on our latest content.